What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I hope you have all been doing awesome and having a good time out on the range since the weather is finally cooling off, especially for my people living in hot states. We are going to talk about what Shadow Systems has done in the way of the DR, MR, and the XR in the Foundation series. So these guys right here, as I do the fan of Shadow Systems, because I think a lot of you might have been waiting for these models.
It was not rolling that draw.
Crazy thunder going on outside right now, so if you hear that, I am sorry. But if you have wanted a DR, MR, or an XR Shadow Systems, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, now look around, because there's probably somebody staring at you in a weird way because you just raised your hand, like at a coffee shop or at work or something like that. But we're going to talk about the new Foundation series from Shadow Systems today. These fresh new versions from Shadow Systems are going to be slightly different than the Elite or the Combat versions that are already out in the MR, DR, and the XR models. But the cool thing is they're going to come in anywhere from $200 to $300 cheaper on the MSRP, depending on which Shadow Systems models you have looked at in the past. If you've never seen the Shadow Systems in person, or you don't know what the size differences are between the DR, MR, and the XR, I want to take a really good look up close at these sizes, so you're going to understand kind of what the purpose is behind each of these sizes, much like a Glock 17, Glock 19, Glock 26. Shadow has done the same thing, and they're pretty purpose driven when it comes to the size, and then there's some that will cross over. So for those of you that already know what this is, you can fast forward about 2 minutes. For the rest of you, you're going to want to stick around and see why they've named these the names they are and what the differences in the size are, so you can get a really good understanding on the new Foundations. We're going to quickly discuss the size differences between the DR, XR, and the MR Shadow Systems. For a Glock equivalent, if you're looking at that, it's going to be a 17, a 45, and a 19. The DR 920 is their full-size 17-round standard capacity pistol. So this is much going to be geared in the way of outside the waistband or retention holster for duty work, security, law enforcement, things like that. That's really where this size of pistol comes into play and pretty much what it's made for. And there's always going to be a designator on the slide right there that's going to tell you which model it is. So that is the DR 920. You can see in my double XL sized hands, that is going to be the grip. Very similar, if not identical, to the size of a Glock 17. The XR model here, again, model number is on the side right there. This is going to be the hybrid, or the X crossover. This is going to have a full-size grip and a short slide. So think Glock 17 grip, Glock 19 slide. That's why it's the X, or the crossover. You get that good full-size grip, standard 17-round capacity, and everything that you would expect out of the Shadow Systems still on that version. This is going to be a crossover model. It could be everything from outside the waistband, inside the waistband, duty carry. It's really a one-size-fits-all, and this is my favorite size of pistol because it gives me all the capacity with a little less slide when I'm carrying in my EDC holsters. Now the MR 920 again is going to have the nomenclature right there across the slide. This is the compact version, akin to a Glock 19. You will have a shorter grip, 15-round standard capacity in here, and it's going to have that shorter slide length overall. Still going to have all of the other options that Shadow Systems give you, and this is really the EDC version, concealed carry version, but it's also a great size for people that have smaller hands that don't want all of that extra grip. So people that maybe have medium-sized hands are really going to fit a pistol like this well for all-around use. All right, how about some of that range action? So I got these out on the range. I cleaned one of them. I cleaned the DR 920 and I did not clean the other two, just to see if that would make a difference, because Shadow Systems does say there's about a 200 round break-in process. And they provide you Lucas Extreme Oil to use during that break-in process, which happens to be my favorite lubricant, so use it. That's why they put it in the box for you. And in that 200 round break-in process, I ran them fast. Love to reload, love to reload.
Redo.
Restart. The day I was able to get all three of these out on the range, I ran 115 and 124 grain ball ammo only. I'm super low on self-defense, hollow point style ammunition, so I didn't have any to test besides the stuff I carry with me daily, and I just didn't want to expend that and then not have it to carry and have to get to a gun store. So more of that will be coming. When it comes to all three of these, let's talk about the angles first. So these are modeled after Glocks, like a Glock 17, 19, and a Glock Model 45. The differences here is these are going to have much less aggressive grip angles, which I'm a huge fan of because they just point and aim extremely natural to me. The recoil impulse goes right back to zero because I like a less aggressive angle than Glock provides, which I think many of you out there kind of appreciate as well. The trigger on all three of these is going to be solid, but these are duty kind of purpose style pistols. So they're going to have a 4.5, 5, maybe a little bit over 5 pound break generally until you really get these things running, broke in, and really lubed up. That's a pretty consistent weight that I've had in the Shadow Systems models that I've tested, and they are built that way. They're not supposed to have ultra light triggers in them. They're supposed to be a duty combat style trigger. So if you're expecting something super crazy, that's not what these are built like. Taking aim and acquiring your sight picture with these is super easy with the white dot combat style sight on them, darked out in the rear, and a white dot in the front. I think most of us have probably had white dot sights before and have done just fine with them out on the range. Whether I was working from a draw or from just a transition from target to target, they really do aim effortlessly due to those better angles, at least for me. These can be run extremely fast if you haven't seen me run the Shadow Systems in previous videos, but they run really flat. They have a low bore axis, not that that is everything, but it does help a little bit. The grip texture on the Foundation series is the same as everything else Shadow Systems offers. Now, it's one of my favorites. It's second to like the M&P line of pistols because it's very aggressive, yet not abrasive. It's that perfect mix of like the sandpaper texture, and it is everywhere from all the way around the grip, all the way forward on those thumb ledges, and those ledges with a texture in them, combined with the texture all over the grip, really do help you control the recoil impulse, especially if you are out there training hard, running around, or working this in inclement weather. It was 100+ degrees the day I was out there on the range, and I have to say when my hands start sweating, things can get a little sloppy on the grip, but this texture is a huge help. You're also still going to get that double undercut that Shadow System has on all their frames, which is going to help you get a very high grip on the pistol and again control the recoil just a little bit better. Out on the backside, you do get a slightly extended beaver tail. Just gives you a little bit more meat to get up in the web between your pointer finger and your thumb. Again, a little bit extra to help control the recoil. The overall range experience was very positive. I didn't have any issues with the 115 or the 124 grain running, extracting, ejecting, loading, none of those problems. I will be running some more self-defense ammo through this as that comes in. And at least one of these will get that well over 1K review where it gets a lot of that self-defense ammo to ensure that it's going to function. But overall, they did exactly what I would expect them to do, having bought several Shadow Systems and having borrowed several Shadow Systems pistols from my friends to test in the past. And quite honestly, they are one of my favorite pistols because they've pretty much cleaned up the things I don't like about the Glock, kept the things I do like about the Glock, but you can just run the crud out of these things. Well, what exactly are the differences between the Foundation series, the Combat, and the Elite? So we're going to take another good up close look at these so I can point out the differences so you'll have all the information you're going to need. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what our differences are going to be between the Elite model like this or the Combat model, which is just slightly different from this War Poet, and the new Foundation system. So we're going to talk about the big differences, the main differences, and how they made this a little bit more feasible for everybody to buy. First thing you're going to notice, no magwell in here like there is on the War Poet version. So we're going to talk more about that because you can get it as an option if you are interested. That's one thing that is different. Moving up into here, you'll notice the trigger looks exactly the same, but it's going to be a polymer trigger shoe rather than an aluminum machined one. It's going to function the same. It was just a way to cut costs a little bit. Coming across the top right here, the optics cover plate is going to be polymer rather than machined aluminum. Again, not a big deal, just a way they were able to cut costs. You're still going to get the same optics mounting platform in there that Shadow System is known for. They're just going to give it to you a little cheaper because of that. There's also going to be no windows on this slide like there are on the Elite version right here. And you are not going to have serrations all the way across the top, but you will still have front and rear serrations, which are very deep and very usable. So if you're into the top serrations in the windows, these might not be the ones for you. When it comes down to the sights, you're going to get a blacked out rear and a white dot style front, the old military kind of style combat sights on there. Whereas on the nicer models, you get a darked out rear and a very high vis front night sight. These are metal and they will still be usable with your optic as backup irons when you put them in there. So you still have the option to run these without changing them out. You're also not going to get the fluting on the barrel like comes in the other models, which may or may not be your thing. Just another way they cut some cost down on there. And you're going to get just a box. So it's going to come in a cardboard box rather than that kind of traditional nylon case that the nicer Combat or Elite or the War Poet models come in. You get a little Shadow Systems carrying case. Honestly, I don't really use the carrying cases. I prefer boxes so I can just throw them out when I am done with them. Well, let's go ahead and talk about cost and options that Shadow Systems will get you directly if you want to change things just a little bit. Okay, let's talk cost and options directly from Shadow Systems. The Foundation Series is an MSRP of $679, putting it right in the market with a Gen 5 Glock MOS. Now, by comparison, my XR920 Elite runs $989, and if you want the threaded barrel version, it runs about $1,009. That is going to put it roughly $300 more expensive than these, depending on the barrel you want to go with. When it comes to the combat version, it's still going to be $200 less when it comes to the Foundation Series. So that is not a small amount of money, not the biggest amount of money, but that may be the difference between owning and not owning. And if you just have to have that magwell, you can pick it up as a factory option from Shadow Systems with the magwell and that little insert for 20 bucks. That's not bad at all. That's not even a deal breaker because you're still going to be about 180 bucks ahead when it comes to the combat and about 280 ahead when it comes to the Elite models. Basically what it comes down to is you get 100% of the performance and about 2/3 of the Gucci. My final thoughts on these, they are solid, and I really hope Shadow Systems continues to come out with models like this that puts them at a more affordable price point for all of us, especially being full custom right out of the box from the manufacturer. So you don't have to go out, buy yourself a Glock and then do slide work, maybe get a barrel, maybe get an optic cut, of course do some stipple work on the frame and then a double undercut. And then before you know it, you have a $1,400 to $1,600 Gucci Glock, which there's nothing wrong with. I have plenty of those as well. But this really gives it to you out of the box at that MSRP price of $679. Now, if I had to nitpick and say one thing could be better or could be changed, I would say, and this is really nitpicking, let's split the cost on that magwell. Let's go $689 and you just give me the magwell in the box. That might be a big ask for what they have brought this in at price point wise, but that's the one thing where I could really think of if I nailed it down and say one thing had to change, it would be give me the magwell and I'll split the cost with you, $10 and $10 each way. I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are. Do you like seeing these more affordable options from Shadow Systems? Because I know I really do. Some of you may want the full Gucci clone thing out there with the fluted barrel, the threaded barrel, the windows and all that. Nothing wrong with that. But I think many people are going to find this to be a happy medium. So let me know in the comments, are you digging it or does it really matter to you? That is what I have for all of you today. Make sure you get subbed up, turn the notifications down there on, and a huge shout out to all of my Patreons out there. Massive support structure for the channel. If you're interested in anything you saw today, you can check out the first link in the description to tacticalconsiderations.com. That's my website. It's just a blog, but there's links and some codes there that you can check out and take advantage of. Get out on the range, have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.